Mets opening day. Real baseball will be back now. Officially, there have already been two games. The Cubs lost both of their games in Japan to the Dodgers. So officially, the Major League Baseball season is underway. But now the Cubs and the Dodgers actually have to come home, and they're going to be playing spring training games now after all of this. So that's got to be kind of a weird adjustment after you're in this travel environment, super hyped, and playing real games to now playing exhibition games. I don't know. It's got to be kind of weird. But we are 1 week away from New York Mets opening day, and I cannot be more excited. In fact, I'm probably more excited for the start of the baseball season this year than normal, and I'm probably less excited or care less about the NCAA college basketball tournament this year than normal. So I did fill out a bracket. Our whole family filled out a bracket. I went with St. John's. I figured let's go with a little old school Northeastern bias with it. So season's over. Jonathan's given up on the season already. Well, here's the thing. I do think that the percentage chance of any team having the best record in the National League other than the Dodgers is very low. So I do think that the Dodgers now I have no idea if the Cubs are just absolute junk this year too, because the way they were playing looked like they had no care or interest in actually playing real grinded out baseball too. But the Dodgers systematically destroyed the Cubs in back-to-back games without Mookie Betts and without Freddie Freeman. And I think in the very least that should be concerning to any team that has significant flaws and weaknesses. And I just don't see how the Dodgers don't continually rack up a ton of wins all season. I mean, they could very well go most of the season without losing more than a couple of series the whole season. So I do think there's some concern there. Of course, there's always concern with your team. With the Mets, it's like with my team, with your team, no matter what team you have, even Dodgers fans, I'm sure, have the things that they are concerned about. I do think the big question mark that I still see with the Mets is how will our pitching hold up, and can we survive any more injuries? And we're going this season with just so many people banged up, so many people missing, and so many. I don't know. It just. I'm glad that we have the depth, but at a certain point, it doesn't matter how deep you are. You just can't survive all those injuries, and I think especially on the pitching front, if we were to have one more pitching injury, we're going to find ourselves in a lot of hurt. I don't think it's a huge deal if you've got to rely on Blackburn and McGill and Canning for a month, 6 weeks. But if we're still pitching those guys, if the Mets are still having those guys in their rotation come July and August, that just seems like a recipe for disaster long term. Now, of course, there's plenty of opportunity here for these guys to get healthy, for the Mets to make other moves, for minor league guys like Brandon Sproat to be ready to come to the majors. So I do value that flexibility. Luis Angel Acuna, Angels in the outfield. Yeah. It'll be interesting to see. And again, I haven't checked in on news. Are we still officially waiting to hear the final roster for the Mets? Because I am slightly out of it. So at last I knew we were down to like three guys basically battling for two spots, and it was Beatty and Acuna and one other dude. So I would assume if they're gonna start Acuna, they're gonna if Acuna's gonna be regularly getting playing time in the majors, they would keep him up. But if they're I don't think they want Acuna in the majors as a bench bat primarily. So I do wonder if he goes down to the minors, if they just maybe play him in the outfield for a week or two, just to get him some reps out there and the versatility or whatever. So I don't know, but I am looking forward to the start of the season. I would say the one weakness that and I mentioned this on another stream too, but the sheer amount of repetition in the teams that we played in spring training this year made spring training just get unbearable very quickly. We have played the Astros and the Nationals and the Marlins. I want to say it. If you throw in the Cardinals now, that's maybe half of our spring training was against just 4 teams. And I get it; they don't want to travel a ton, but Florida's not that huge of a state. I think it would be beneficial for fans from across the state, like to have the East Coast and the West Coast teams intermingle a little bit more. So, Johnny, how's it going? No, I am hyped about Soto, and I am hyped about Clay Holmes. Of course, the issue always, or not necessarily the issue, the question with Clay Holmes is not so much, March, April, May. The question is his arm, converting, from reliever to starter and picking up a lot more innings. Is his arm still going to be live, come August, September, and different things like that? But no, in fact, one of the reasons why I'm not completely depressed about our pitching situation is seeing how Clay Holmes has stepped up. David Peterson is looking super sharp. I'm super, super excited about that. And even after his first start, even Paul Blackburn hasn't been horrible. Griffin Canning has been decent. Tyler McGill has been decent. It's like, okay, we have the offense to win some shootout games. I just don't want to be having to win every game as a shootout. I don't want to have to score 10 runs every single game. And so, but no, I mean, I'm happy. I'm happy that Pete is back. I'm happy. The very fact that just to kind of realize here, if Pete Alonso had not re-signed, then for sure you're almost certainly your infield would be Beatty at third, Acuna maybe would be up here, and then Vientos would be playing first. So the depth of this lineup, having Soto, having Pete Alonso, seeing Brandon Nimmo is still, he's starting to hit, even though he's still overcoming his injury. So no, I am enthused. I'm not giving up on the season or anything like that. But I just think it's just, even with a deep roster, it's hard to take continual hits. And the truth is, how many years have we seen the team that was predicted to be the best team in baseball just falls flat for some reason or another? I mean, how many years did we go into the season hyped, thinking, "Oh my goodness, this is the best Mets team we've seen in 10 years," and they just completely fall flat. So, I do think that there are scenarios where the Dodgers are not the best team in the National League. It's just that on paper, and from what we've seen in the first 2 games of their season, it's going to be that those scenarios seem less likely than it seems more likely the Dodgers will have the best record in the National League at the end of the regular season. But that doesn't mean I'm quitting on the season. And honestly, with the way the playoffs are now, I don't even know if being a number 1 seed or whatever is really that big of a deal at this point anymore. And not saying that I want to be a wild card, but it does seem like you can get a lot of momentum if you're a wild card, because one of those 2 wild card teams has to win. So it's kind of like, for those of you who do like NCAA brackets, if you've done your research, you know that pretty much every year, one of the 11 seeds that plays in that play-in game ends up winning their first round game. Now, will that happen again this year? Obviously, to be seen. But based on that, I picked North Carolina to win, because they had, I've seen this narrative too many times where everybody's like, they didn't deserve to win. They get in the final, the first 4 game or whatever, and then the team that didn't deserve to be in the tournament wins that game and then goes on a run. Wasn't it like, I'm trying to remember, was it like 2 or 3 years ago, UCLA? They completely, I think it was UCLA, like 2 or 3 years ago, came out of that play-in game and then just completely ran the table. Like they won 3 games, not the whole thing, but they won 3 games in a row, something like that. And that same phenomena seems to be happening more and more with the wild card games in Major League Baseball. So I do think going into the postseason hot and going into the postseason healthy are probably the 2 most important things, regardless of where you are seated, regardless of your regular season record. You want to be healthy and you want to be hot then. And after that, as long as you have those 2 things, it's kind of, let's see what happens, I think. So that's just kind of my take on it. I'm just going to be with you guys for a couple more minutes. I'm just on the way to pick up my wife and kids from school. So, and then we're going to go to Dairy Queen. So I don't know if it's nationwide, every Dairy Queen, so you might want to call ahead. But it's a free ice cream cone at Dairy Queen today. So nobody knows about this except for me and my family. So I'm going to surprise them with ice cream after school here. That's where we're going. So totally a heads up to all of you if you got that little Dairy Queen ice cream craving. It's like a free cone, and then you can donate $1 and they'll dip the cone. You know, they'll dip the cone in whatever dip you want to dip it in, or something like that. I think they're doing. Probably going to get this wrong, but it was like Children's Miracle Network or something. They're doing a fundraiser for it, and they're giving away free cones. But you don't have to donate. You don't have to pay if you don't want to. It's just Dairy Queen free cone day today. So, not sure on Friday yet, Jonathan. So I've got to figure out my work schedule here for tomorrow still. So there's a chance, and as soon as I know, I will post. If I am gonna go live, I'll get it posted. So we shall see. There's a chance. So yeah, I looked at tonight's game is not on TV, so I'll be listening on radio while I'm working tonight. I'm gonna be out doing food delivery tonight, so I'll be listening to the game, and maybe at some point I'll pop on. It wouldn't be like a true play-by-play, but I could just follow along the game on the radio, sort of thing. And for those of you who don't know, if you have the MLB app, TV, Apple TV. So this is even if you're in a blackout zone, you can pretty much always that I've tried. You can always listen to the audio. So that's kind of nice to know. So anyway, so I just got to school. I don't see them out quite yet. Hold on one second. Let me text. Right, sorry, I'm streaming on my phone. Streaming on the same phone that I use to text. So anyway, so I got to go here in just a minute, but I wanted to do a quick little update. You know, we had fun streaming the regular season games. We're going to try to get to as many regular season game streams as we possibly can this year. Of course, mixed in with work schedule. You know, maybe by this time next year I'll be able to be doing this full time. But right now, this is just a labor of love, doing it for fun. Yes, I know. I saw that. I'm very excited. So I actually had. I got to see if I still have. But I actually had some Matt Allen prospect cards a couple years ago, and I always love this, whether it's with the Mets or somebody else. I always just love the idea of guys who are just battle through and then they finally get back. You know, even though it was the Phillies, you guys, I think was it Apple was his name, Matt Apple or something like that, with the Phillies, and he was like the number one about that. Matt Apple, I think he was like the number one overall draft pick, and it took him like 11 years or 12 years, but he finally got to go to the majors. This was like a year or two ago. Finally made it to the majors and got to play in his game after being the number one draft pick and everything like that. And that's super cool. And so I'm always excited. Mark Apple, that's what it was. Thanks, Jonathan. You got it. All right, the family's coming. They are coming. So, but yeah, no, I heard about Matt Allen. I'm gonna go try to watch some video on him. But all right, I appreciate all you guys. The family's here. We're gonna go surprise them with some ice cream. Dairy Queen, go get your free cone today. I will talk to you guys later. Have a great day.